Okay, so the next exercise, just a couple of conceptual multiple choice questions. Very easy. So a market is a place where buyers and sellers A to meet to hang out, produce goods and services, store inventories, or D meet to engage in voluntary exchange of goods and services. And of course that's D. Market power refers to an economic actor's ability to A. prevent third parties from engaging in voluntary exchanges of goods and services. Yeah, that's correct. Produce goods that are well received by consumers. No. Both A and B, none of the above. No, that's A.
So now we know the difference between demand and quantity demanded.
The more competitive is a market, the more likely it A. fills, B. empties, C. congests, or D. clears. And of course that is market clearance when there are no more options for any mutually beneficial exchanges.
If it's an inferior good,
the law of demand states that the quantity of a good demanded varies inversely with its price, so that's correct, directly with population, directly with income, inversely with the price of substitute goods. Now that's obviously inversely with the price, and the law of demand simply states
apples and pears, and when the price for a complement
an inverse relationship
beef, then
between price
for the complement like potatoes also
and quantity demanded.
But if it's a substitute, so if the price
the term change in quantity demanded
then
refers to shifts of the demand curve.
And lastly,
No.
You know how
Movements along the demand curve, that's correct. Rotations of the demand curve, no. Deformations, no. So that is movements along the demand curve.
Individual
A change in quantity demanded is if we
at
move
any given
here.
consumption level.
But then the term change in demand refers to shift of the demand curve, so that's correct, so that's a change in demand.
Marginal utility, and then marginal utility also defines
Which of the following is consistent with the law of demand? Okay, a decrease in the price of a gallon of milk causes a decrease in the quantity of milk demanded. Now, so we have to think of a demand curve.
Supply and quantity supplied, which is very similar. All right, let's.
So if the price goes down,
supply and quantity supplied, which is
from
very
P1
similar to the concept
to
of
P2,
demand and quantity demanded.
what happens is it needs to increase the quantity demanded from Q1 to Q2.
And
So a decrease in the price of milk causes a decrease in the quantity of milk demanded. An increase in the price of soda, so now we go the other way, causes a decrease in the quantity of soda demanded. That sounds right. An increase in the price of a cookie causes an increase in the quantity of cookies demanded. No, because an increase in the price of a cookie should lead to a decrease in the quantity of cookies demanded. A decrease in the price of juice causes no change. No. So an increase in the price. So if we increase the price, what we should observe is the opposite.
Every extra unit that you produce causes you higher extra cost. So in order to feel encouraged to
there is a
produce
decrease in the
unit,
quantity
you
of
also
soda
need to
demanded.
face a higher price. So when you said earlier,
Okay, so apples and pears are substitutes. If the price for apples falls, then holding everything else constant. Okay, so we have substitutes, apples and pears.
Subject to the law of diminishing
So
marginal
we have
utility,
two
from
scenarios.
which we derived the negative slope of the demand function. Likewise,
So those
when
are
it
the
comes to
apples,
supply, we have the law of supply,
and here we have the
And-
pears.
and the supply curve is subject to the law of increasing marginal opportunity cost. And at least this is true after
Okay, so the only thing that happens is the price for apples falls.
More and more units, especially after you have already exhausted things like specialization.
Okay, so this goes down. So then what we know is quantity demanded for apples goes up. But now people eat more apples and then they don't eat the pears. So that means no matter what the price is for pears, at any given price of pears there will be less demand for pears. So that's a shift to the left. So quantity demanded for apples increases, that's correct, and quantity demanded for pears decreases, that's wrong. The second part is wrong. Demand for apples increases, no, quantity demanded increases. So see, quantity demanded for apples increases and demand for pears decreases, that's correct.
Where we have the price then to the left
and
side.
Demand for apples increases now. It needs to relate to quantity demand. Okay, buns and beef patties are complements. If the price for beef patties decreases, then, okay, so now again, similar scenario.
A little bit bigger. And let's also
okay, so we have the beef patties and we have the buns.
Okay, so if the price is 9, then quantity supplied.
So if the price for beef patties decreases, again, price goes down. That's the only thing that happens. We hold everything else constant. That's the ceteris paribus condition. Okay, so now more people buy beef patties, but then they always put it, of course, on a bun. That means the demand function shifts to the right. So the right answer is we observe an increase in quantity demanded for patties and an increase in the demand for buns. So quantity demanded for beef patties increases, that's correct, and quantity demanded for buns, no. The term quantity demanded would be
that's the reservation price.
Demand for beef patties increases, no, it needs to be quantity demanded. C, quantity demanded for beef patties increases, and demand for buns increases, that's correct.
Is a function of the marginal opportunity.
And demand for beef patties increase? No, that's wrong.
Okay, so
there is a decrease in demand for SUVs, lowering the price of SUVs. Holding everything else constant, a car manufacturer of SUVs and sedans will then. Okay, so now we have here a scenario for SUVs.
Of course, if P goes up, Q goes up. So that captures the positive relationship. But when we draw it
and
like
we have
this,
also supply.
We want to look at a function where Q is to the left side of the equation, and we would expect the price to be to the left side.
So we have the SUVs.
So now let's convert again this supply
and
function
into
the inverse supply function. So we want to isolate the price.
Okay, so maybe there's a
and then I can just add on both sides
supply,
+2, and then I get P
and there's a demand
equals 2 plus Q.
Okay, so now what happens is there is a decrease in demand for SUVs. So this is what happens.
Plus P. So
we have here D prime,
this function,
a decrease. So we move from point A to point B.
Okay, what about the next one?
And that is a decrease in quantity supplied. Okay, so now the company also produces sedans, so that means all the resources that they now
+8 on both sides
make available from producing less SUVs, they can use in order to expand the production of sedans, which is an increase in the supply from S to S prime, because they will increase the supply of sedans no matter what the price is. The price didn't change. So now the correct answer is we observe a reduction in the quantity supplied of SUVs, so that's correct. But what is wrong, we don't observe an increase in quantity supplied, but an increase in supply. Reduced supply, that's already wrong. Reduced quantity supplied of SUVs and increased supply of sedans. So C is correct.
We said there are shifters of demand. And there are also shifters.
Unions and employers have agreed on an increase in wages or of wages, so holding everything else constant, this shifts the supply curve to the left, shifts the supply curve to the right, no, increases quantity supplied, decreases quantity supplied, no. Production costs and wages are part of that, are a determinant of supply, not quantity supplied, so the correct answer is it shifts the supply curve to the left or up,
determinants,
depending how you want to see it.
So,
okay, so I don't have to draw that, so let's just move to 12.
Expectations.
If both demand and supply increase at the same time,
very important.
Okay, we know for sure that,
and taxes and
okay,
subsidies.
so
Let's start with the production costs.
So we have a scenario,
So
we have supply and demand. Okay, so now both increase. Well, let's say the
what
supply
happens is that
increases by a
let's say
lot,
the oil price goes up, and the oil price
but the
is
demand by very little.
production. So if oil prices go up,
So then definitely the quantity,
goes up. So
equilibrium
now
quantity increases, but the
we
price
can
would go
say
down.
that those higher prices
Okay.
shift the demand.
So
function
now let's
up.
take another scenario. Let's
But that would
say,
be the same as to say, it shifts the supply function to the left.
so we
either
start
shifts the
again
supply
here, we
function
have
up
supply
or to the left.
and
Both
demand.
is
But now the
decrease in
demand
supply.
increases
So
by a
production
lot,
costs go up. The supply
and the supply by very little.
So
So now we
some
end up
people
here
may say
again.
that at every
We have a higher
quantity
equilibrium
used,
quantity.
the higher
So the
production
only thing we
costs
know
are
for
now
sure
being
is
applied
that
to be rolled
the
over
equilibrium quantity
to the
increases, but
consumers.
prices could go
That
up or
is why
down.
we don't say the supply
So
shifts
if both demand and supply increase at the same
And-
time, we know for sure
But
that the
in most textbooks it
equilibrium
says that the
quantity
production costs
increases.
go up. It is a decrease in supply.
Okay.
So that means at every given price.
Okay, so now in
every
exercise
given
4,
quantity,
I just think I
exactly
will
prices
start
go up.
doing that in a separate video.
I cannot produce as
And
much
it's a lot of calculation, so probably do it even
total revenue.
in
So
Excel.
let's say
So let's just stop here.
that the price is currently 5.